Dee-dee-dee. All right, we are officially live. And I want to welcome first my beautiful co-host for today, Eva. Thank you for joining me again.
Of course. I love talking. There's nothing I text first other than you about wrestling things. I'm like, have you seen this? So like, what about this?
Exactly. And
fans, they're crazy.
Oh yeah, it's good to have. You're like one of my like sane wrestling friends. That's why I like certain things. I like to reach out to you because not everyone in the wrestling Twitter world and fan community is rational and relatively sane. So I appreciate you, Eva. Okay, so those that are new to this show, welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is TWG Fan Club, and it is another opportunity that I thought up for us to talk about women's wrestling. And it's really a way for us to kind of discuss the hot takes of certain wrestlers. So we've done an episode on Naomi. Who did we do last week? Why am I blanking? Oh, we did last month.
Naomi, Becky.
Oh, we did Becky Lynch. Yeah, so we did Becky Lynch. And this month we are doing Asuka. And the reason why I wanted to do Asuka is because she is a very polarizing figure, as in you can't really argue her greatness. But at the same time, you know, she's not always booked the way that, you know, people think that she should be booked, because Asuka is one of the greatest wrestlers in the world for a long time now, not even just now, and in a lot of different promotions. So I have to ask you, Eva, when did you discover Asuka? And how do you feel just looking back on her overall run in WWE?
Okay, I'm so happy you asked about the overall run, because I think Triple H handled booking Asuka the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
On Raw and SmackDown, not so much. Asuka is the person that you can build an entire division around, and Triple H understood that, and that's like when the call-up happened, they had everybody the right way. Like they handled Asuka the correct way. Like she was the cornerstone. You had Bayley still be the champion, but they handled the entire booking of Asuka the greatest way possible, because even with people that you knew they weren't going to take the title off of her, they still had really good matches. And that booking hasn't happened in the main roster.
I totally agree. And one thing I would say, and I would love to know your thoughts on this, that I think is consistent about Asuka's run overall from NXT to now, is that she has a way of elevating other talent. And did I lose you, Eva? I think I lost Eva, guys. I think Asuka is one of those people that, you know, you can like talk about so much because she brings like so much to the table. So we're gonna see what happened to Eva and give her a second to come back. But
I'm so sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. Everything good?
Yeah, my computer just went dark all of a sudden, and I'm like, can they still see me? Is everything okay? I'm like,
okay.
Asuka.
Yeah. So I was saying, like, one thing I think is consistent about Asuka's overall run and how Triple H was able to make Asuka continue to elevate talent through her undefeated streak was bringing girls in and having her, you know, we knew her streak was there and we knew that she would probably win all of these matches, but she was able to have these classic matches with so many different people throughout her run. And I love that. And I think that still happens now, but I think people are perceiving that as like her not having equal opponents that are on her level.
Well, yes and no. I don't know if Vince knows how big of a star he has in Asuka. I think, like in the beginning of this entire new age of WWE under COVID, I think Asuka was shining through. Even with Becky as champion, like we would have Asuka on the mic and Asuka, like just like her funny interactions and doing, like we got to see more of Asuka not as a champion versus now as a champion. And I think what Triple H did get the greatest is that it's not the quality of the women that they have, because WWE has the best women's division across all three brands. Like that's undisputed. Their only real competition is Impact. And I think with Asuka, it's just like give her the time to shine and she will shine. And I think there was something special during the NXT days, not just because they chose to give her an undefeated streak, but it was just like we saw Asuka versus Dana Brooke, and nobody thought Dana Brooke would beat her, but it was still like there would still be a moment for Dana Brooke to shine in a way. And I think with the booking on Raw and SmackDown, it's very rare that you can.
Yeah. I agree with you. And I'm glad that you touched on Vince not realizing the potential of Asuka, because for people like me who was not familiar with Asuka prior to NXT and WWE, I was hooked from the very beginning. You know, like that wasn't a star that they had to like push on me. Like I didn't know how big of a star she was prior. As soon as she popped on the scene, I knew like she was someone that I need to pay attention to. And she just had that it factor in addition to her abilities. And it says a lot about someone who is able to get over on the mic that does not speak English. Like there's something to say to that, because I remember when she debuted on the main roster and my dad doesn't watch NXT at that time, especially didn't watch NXT at all. And I would always be like, Asuka's hilarious, Asuka's hilarious. And he's just like, how do you figure if she doesn't speak English? And then he started to see the same thing, like, Asuka's so funny, like, put her on the mic. So stars like that don't come around often. And, you know, we covered Becky Lynch last month, and, you know, she is absolutely a star, has the it factor, but it took a while for her to get there. I mean, we always saw it in her, but it took a while for her to like sell everyone, and Asuka didn't need to do that.
Yeah, no, I think she doesn't need to do that. And I think it's Patrick brought it up, I think. I'm pretty sure it was Patrick.
Yeah, it was Patrick.
I think Ronda took time away from her in the Royal Rumble moment. I agree, but I think it's funny because Asuka has had a trajectory similar to Becky's, and I think Asuka has, where I think the biggest difference though is, as much as I'm a Becky fan, I think Asuka's undisputedly one, if not the greatest women's wrestler of all time. Like I remember back to her Kana days. Like I first found out about Asuka when I was first getting back into WWE, because I don't remember what I Googled, but it was like best women's wrestler, and the first video that popped up was not a WWE one or everybody else, but it was actually Asuka back in her and so I think it's sad because I don't know what it is, but I think yes, her Royal Rumble moment, it was almost the beginning of the end, where we were so excited to go into WWE, into like Raw and SmackDown. And in a way, I think the momentum, she has never been able to truly get back that big momentum that was taken away by Ronda.
Yeah. It's funny because at the moment, and you know how much I freaking loved that first Women's Royal Rumble. I think I can concretely say it's one of my favorite women's matches. Like it's probably number one. But at the moment, I didn't see it as overshadowing Asuka's moment, I think, because of the shock of Ronda Rousey coming in. And I was one of those people who didn't believe that Ronda was coming, because there was a lot of rumors prior to her debuting at Royal Rumble. And I was more wrapped up into that. And I think just like, oh my God, it's the first Women's Royal Rumble. Like it was just like a lot going on. It wasn't until I saw that take a lot on Twitter, and I was just like, And we've watched that Royal Rumble together many times. And It definitely feels that way. And I think added on to how many other moments I feel Asuka's shine was kind of taken away from her. And I know there were we just watched the TLC match from 2018 with Kyrie and Asuka and no. Which one was it where the Asuka won and it cut to like a men's thing?
You see, the common denominator is always Ronda that kind of takes the shine away. Asuka versus Becky versus 2018. Yeah, 2018.
Yes. Oh, yes. And she won, and it was like Ronda helped her win almost. And it's like Asuka is not one of those superstars that I feel like needs help. You know what I mean? Like as big of a stars as Becky was getting to be at that moment, and Charlotte. So that goes to another question or a hot take that we wanted to actually talk about today. And it was Asuka's SmackDown title run all about Becky? So she won the SmackDown title from Becky at this TLC, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then like, I feel like nothing was really memorable about that, except for it being kind of like a pawn and then Charlotte getting it randomly for it to be a winner take all match at WrestleMania. I have such a pet peeve. Well, I see way more people in the comments. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. Shout out to Rakasha, Bella Book Club, OG for life. Mm-hmm. But like Asuka was used in that whole thing. And I just feel like a talent. I don't like when women or other women are used that way, but like Asuka out of all people is just like, it's like this diamond that you're just like, you know, like for example, we talk about it all the time, Asuka tapping out Becky at Royal Rumble. And you know, like it was almost like that didn't happen.
And I think even for me, like I know that it happened, but I think WWE took it away. And I think we forget that before we forget that Asuka did win the title from Becky. Like that it wasn't just like Becky, Charlotte, and then Becky winning both titles. Like
right.
Asuka was right there. And it's just, I don't know. I think it was going to be hard. Like if you would say like, is her SmackDown title memorable? Mm-hmm. No, it wasn't memorable. It was too short to be memorable. And I think having the star power in Becky of becoming the face of the company, I think it was going to be hard for them to do that. And I think as much as I love two belts, Becky 2 belts, I would have loved for it to not been 2 belts. Like give it for the Raw title. I didn't like them giving it to Charlotte because once again, it was going to be Charlotte that was handed the title away. Like,
right.
I think that's something that Cammie, our who watches the watch parties with us all the time. She's like, I hate Charlotte because of this. But it's just like, it
was so unnecessary to me. I mean, of course, like you said, what came out of it is amazing. But I think that is such a good leeway to my next question that just popped into my head that I can't believe that we didn't think about was, should Charlotte have ended Asuka's undefeated streak at WrestleMania?
No, never. Okay, hold on. I actually shouldn't say never. I think I just wanted it to be I always thought it was going to be Charlotte, but I didn't want it to be at WrestleMania. Like I wanted it to be the SummerSlam, not Survivor Series. My bad. Like I wanted them to extend it. Like I would have even felt comfortable with. Like I wanted somebody to win Money in the Bank, and and cash it in on Asuka. I didn't want it to end at WrestleMania 34. Like I wanted it to be
like a clean win like that.
And especially after the Ronda Rousey moment, like I wanted I wanted it to mean more for Asuka that she would win at WrestleMania because that moment of Royal Rumble was taken away.
I never thought about it. I never thought about it that way. And now that you say that, like, I completely agree, because I still just feel like Asuka hasn't gotten that like real payoff win or moment yet. Like, and I, wrestling fans are oversensitive. Like, I could be like overthinking a lot. And I'm not gonna say that Asuka didn't have a fantastic, or is having a fantastic career. For the most part, in the last few years, she has always kind of been in the title picture. She's floated around. Right. Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. But I do feel like just because of the level of talent that Asuka is, I just think that there were times where she should have gotten more. Like, I don't know more of what, but just like more, her ladder match win with Ronda Rousey being a part of the ending, the Royal Rumble ending, being spoiled by that. The other ladder match when all the guys like came out, it was just we never really had that Asuka moment. And I hope that we do soon. But I want to know how you feel about this take. Shout out to Jason. This is what he says about the undefeated streak.
A year later, the Ember Moon. Yeah. That's interesting, Jason. I've never heard that of like a year later to Ember. I think that I'm definitely one of them that I thought Ember should have won in NXT and defeated Asuka. But and this isn't a knock on Ember Moon because she's an amazing women's wrestler. I don't know if Ember mixes well with Raw and SmackDown booking. I think in her career she's doing the best that she has been able to do in NXT, and that's a knock on WWE booking, not on Ember Moon.
Right.
But I think in building her up, I don't think I would have seen it, that they would have been able to build her up to that level of me being okay with it. And I don't want it to come across, because I have been called this before, of being a 4 horsewoman stan. I don't think there should have necessarily been another 4 horsewomen. Like, I think Naomi or like Alexa Bliss, Carmella, I think they could have all been fun storylines with Asuka, especially like I can't remember her name, but like Carmella's original accomplice, James. Like, with Asuka after the first Money in the Bank, I think they could have done something fun like that and like leave her undefeated a little bit longer.
I have mixed takes on that Charlotte and taking the streak. I never thought about like Asuka not having a big WrestleMania win. So I do wish that happened, especially after winning the Royal Rumble. Like, it was like and weirdly enough, I feel it was the same with Shinsuke Nakamura. Like, I feel like he peaked at winning Royal Rumble, and then it was just like because I believe he lost that night too, if I'm not mistaken. And it just was like, okay, well, like what was usually like the winner of the Royal Rumble goes on to have a big payoff at WrestleMania. However, I personally loved that match. It actually made me a Charlotte fan. Like, I was just so into it. And like, there's this, like, when she puts Asuka in the figure 8, it's like she's like bleeding. It was just like a whole moment for me. Like, and like, not a lot of matches give me like that feeling, and that did. So at the time, like in the experience, I was like, oh my God, that was a great match. And then the whole like mutual respect at the end. In hindsight, knowing what they would do with Charlotte and give her the title 800 million thousand times, it's like Charlotte did not need to win that night. You know what I mean? Like, you were going to have like the next year you were headlining as champion. You know what I mean? It's just like, I just didn't think I don't think they needed to end Asuka's streak at that moment to Charlotte at all. I don't know if it should have been Ember Moon, and I don't know if I would have wanted her to be undefeated for a whole nother year. So it's just like, I don't know. But I do feel like it was like a balloon got inflated for me when she lost to Charlotte. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's always like the most unpopular opinion, but some days I can't understand the why for Charlotte.
Yeah.
And I think what rubs a lot of people the wrong way, if I remember things correctly, Charlotte lost it and took a break for a while and then came back for SummerSlam and that. And so I think that too rubbed a lot of fans the wrong way because I like the match. I don't like the ending of the match, but I like the match overall. And I think because Charlotte needed to take that time away, I think it would have just been better for it to have been like leave it on Asuka for a little bit longer then.
Right. How do you feel about this take?
Oh, Asuka. Oh God, I think I love Asuka versus Becky, but Asuka and Sasha sometimes takes that to the top for me.
Yeah.
Just because I've seen Asuka versus Becky so much, but I think Asuka versus Sasha was special the first time that it happened.
It really was. I don't know if in 2018, like at that point in time, like I would have necessarily preferred Sasha to end it. I honestly don't know who I would have preferred to end it. I can't even tell you. But Asuka is still considered a measuring stick though. So like even though we feel like her booking isn't, the best, she is like put on that pedestal. Like if you're up against Asuka, it's like, okay, like this is it. Like I think that really helped Becky come all the way full circle as far as just like, because Asuka was like, that one person that she couldn't beat, and then she finally beat her. But I do feel like okay, so how have you been feeling about her booking? Let's talk more specific things. So one thing that popped up to me was when we were talking about how good Asuka is on the mic, when they paired the Kabuki Warriors together, which I was like, sure, love them. They originally put them with Paige.
I hated that.
How did you? Please explain.
I was so angry. Like I love Kairi Sane and I love Asuka, but at the beginning, I was angry, and with Paige, I hated it even more.
Why? Why do you like? Why specifically? Like, were you upset that they had a mouthpiece, or were you just like Paige isn't it?
I was upset that they had the mouthpiece. I think they don't need it. I think like both of, and this is sadly a thing that I think even, and I forgot to mention this with Becky, but I'll mention it now with Asuka. I think a lot of people, and you mentioned it earlier, is like a lot of people have a problem with the accents on WWE TV. Like I know Drew McIntyre has like talked about it, of just like people during his first time, like telling him, speak better English. Like we need to be able to understand you better. And Becky has said it too. Like I was once told that because of my Irish accent, people were never going to fall in love with me. And I think it was weird for it to be Paige. I didn't understand the why is it Paige. Right. I think like overall, I just didn't like it for the Kabuki Warriors. I think.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that brings me to another point. I'm glad that you touched on WWE not necessarily knowing what to do with like accents and stuff like that. But that's another thing. But I'm a huge Paige fan, and I miss her being able to be in the mix so much all the time. I didn't like her in this role. I was like, I just did not think it was necessary. It was just like, what's the connection? Like, what's the, why Paige? You know what I mean? Like why Paige? Like, it seemed like WWE, like me, just wants to see Paige on television. It was just like, okay, we're putting Asuka and Kairi together. You're going to be their manager. And Paige was like, okay, awesome. And it just didn't work. It just totally didn't work for me. And I felt like, just like we were saying before, Asuka doesn't need a mouthpiece. Neither does Kairi. Like they are pure examples. And Shinsuke Nakamura is another example. And I'm sure there are others where English doesn't have to be your first language for you to get over, or for you to be fucking hilarious. Like Kairi and Asuka. And I'm going to have my Kabuki Warriors appreciation moment because I enjoyed them so fucking much.
This day, some of my favorite Becky gifts come from her reacting to Asuka and Kairi, especially Kairi. And I think what I love about the Kabuki Warriors for Asuka is that it broke my heart when Asuka said that now without Kairi, she was going to be so lonely. I think that broke my heart. Because I think it is so special when you have someone that speaks your first language with you. Like I know, like I feel free at times, even now. But I'm like, Asuka, like somebody needs to be best friends with Asuka immediately.
Right. Oh god, I totally felt that as well. And you could see the mutual love and just like how much they enjoyed working together. And I'm sure like at some point before they were in WWE and they were working other promotions, like imagine them, thinking about like, imagine we were a tag team, in WWE, and then they did become a tag team. And once they dropped Paige or turned on Paige in the most glorious way possible. And I am such a fan also of the Green Mist. I absolutely love the Green Mist. I think it's the best thing that it's like, I love it. And when they turned on Paige, I think that's when I was officially sold. And they quickly put the championships on them after that, which I thought was like totally well-deserved. Are they 2-time champions?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Nice.
Because Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross were champions, and then they got them all of them.
Yeah. So Andre has agreed with us as far as the Paige managing them was a little cringe, but he understands why they did it. I would love to know your answer to this question, because do you think we didn't like it because we had hoped to see her in the ring again?
That's a really good question, Andre. Okay, I have to be honest. Paige has grown on me. I did not love Paige at the very beginning of her career like most people have. Her Twitch now has helped me really like Paige as a human. But I think so. I think it was, and I guess because like I recognize how Paige has always been a star in that. So I think it was half of that of like, it was if Daniel Bryan would have managed the Usos. Like it made no sense to me at that point. Like,
okay.
Like it's that type of star managing. You're like, hold up, like that doesn't work for me.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that one. I'm glad they turned like heel for a little while. They were like super, super, super entertaining. But I wanted to touch on something else. And I've been talking about this a lot just because I've recently been thinking about how frustrated I've been of just like how, and I know this is so old probably, but like I was such a fan, how they botched Rusev Day. And I have this theory that WWE, or maybe even just Vince, doesn't know how to book foreign wrestlers without them being a foreign wrestler. So it's like they don't book them as just like good wrestlers, because it's like Rusev, for example, like you couldn't just let him, like he got himself over. You couldn't just let him be Rusev, like you had to make it a thing. Then you like paired him with Shinsuke Nakamura just for the simple fact that they're both foreign. You know what I mean? Like it just was like, I think they just don't know what to do. And I think with Asuka, like Vince, like you said, Triple H knew the talent he had. He let her be Asuka. He just said, you're going to be this, undefeated monster, and you're just going to be you. As soon as she got to the main roster, it was just like a totally different thing. Although I did enjoy a lot of what Asuka has done, but I just think they don't give her a chance to be her enough for me. What's your thoughts?
Every day of 2020 and after, I hate Vince McMahon a little bit more. It gets hard to watch. Being honest, it gets hard to watch WWE sometimes. And sadly, it has gotten to the point where I don't see Raw because I'm part of the reason that they had their all-time lowest audience.
I don't
watch it anymore. Like I wait for the highlights. And it tires me out because of Asuka too, because I feel like currently we're almost all waiting for Charlotte or somebody to come in and take the title away from her, and that destroys me for Asuka.
Right.
I love what Noob and Co said of like her highs outweigh her lows. But it's almost like this. It's always this longing to go back to NXT Asuka, not with the undefeated streak in general, but just like good matches over and over again. Like I was so excited for Mickie James versus Asuka. Like, and it didn't help that Mickie James got injured, and that's why it couldn't happen. But it's like Mickey James, Selena Vega, like Lana. I'm like, wait, hold on, like I need more. I would have loved to have seen Shayna and Nia. Okay, never Nia. If you know me,
yes. We need to do a fan club about Nia Jax since we have sort of more opposite views on that.
I'm like, I'm not a Nia Jax fan. I will happily say that. Like, no. No. So I might not be on that fan club. But I think like with this latest, it's just like this if the SmackDown one was a letdown, this Raw one it's longer, but it's been a letdown too because of the booking.
Yeah.
And the only person that can answer to that is Vince at the end of the day.
Right.
The answer to it is like, oh, it's your problem.
Right. And it's not one of those, and I think what's been more frustrating for me and like our lens is on women's wrestling. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, they don't know how to book the female stars, let's say, right? But we've seen that you can with Becky. You guys booked her like a fucking superhero. So it's like or when Ronda was there, like there used to be like 3 women's matches on Raw when Ronda was on the roster. So it's like you guys have the ability to book the women a certain way. You just don't put that necessary energy into it. And the fact that we're already someone as great as Asuka, who we've been waiting to have a good main title run, we're already anticipating Charlotte coming back and taking the title. Like you said, it's hard. It's almost like heartbreaking. Like it's like Raw does come on Monday nights and I have a weekday bedtime, and I don't watch all of Raw sometimes. But if Asuka was booked the way she should as the freaking Raw Women's Champion, I would stay up to make sure I watch everything, because I did the same thing when Becky was champion, because I knew that I couldn't miss it, But with Asuka, like, I mean, I love what she's doing with Lana now, but like, I can catch that tomorrow, and the fact that we're saying that about Asuka,
it's so like
crazy.
I hate it. Like it's a letdown of the. Oh wait, hold on. I got so distracted.
I'm so sorry.
No, you're good. I love when the women need their own brand. Get rid of 205 Live and make that the women's show on the network. I think there's more than enough talent to do so.
Right.
But I think the answer to like SmackDown currently has 3 storylines, and they have not Becky. They have Bayley versus Naomi. They have Sasha versus Carmella. I don't remember my third one, but I know they have 3.
Like the tag team, Riot Squad, Billie Kay. Like they're doing a lot of fun stuff with that.
But I'm like, they have 3 storylines, and the common denominator where I was loving Asuka on Raw and SmackDown now, it's Paul Heyman. I'm like, Paul Heyman has a good wrestling brain. Get him back on handling Raw, and the audience will come back.
Yeah.
I think just get somebody else. And that's not a knock on Bruce Pritchard, but I think he's a yes man, and that's frustrating too.
It's very frustrating, especially when he already has, and I'm learning this now because I am a huge fan of his podcast, aside from all that, is like, and I know this from listening to Bruce Pritchard's podcast, is that he does not see women booking as on the same level as men. Like he just doesn't. And if Vince doesn't, he doesn't even more. Paul Heyman, when he sees talent, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, green, male, female, short, tall, he is going to maximize that no matter what. And I think he sees that. And even having him on, I'm so high on Paul Heyman, seeing him on Talking Smack, and he does this all the time, he will put you the fuck over no matter what. Like the speech that he gave Big E, like I'm getting just like chills just thinking about it. Yeah, it's like, oh my God. Like, and that's why Paul Heyman needs to be a part of creative in all the shows, because he's going to put what's hot on, period.
Well, and I think like Paul Heyman was there when it was Asuka and Kyrie versus Becky, and like those little matches, like they didn't get tiring at the end of the day. It was exciting. Of like, oh my gosh, like And I know that Timothy, no disrespect to Asuka, I love Asuka so much, but if Charlotte wasn't the one on her streak, who would have the fans been okay with being the one on Asuka's streak?
We spent some time even trying to think about the answer to that question.
We have talked about it during so many watch parties.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know who would have been more ideal.
I think maybe Ember in NXT, or maybe I don't know. Ronda, I guess, because it felt maybe Ronda.
Okay.
I think it would have been fun if it was a hijink.
Oh, oh
like,
yeah.
For it to be a certain reason why.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah. No, I absolutely agree. I do want to talk about because I do like this part, even though in retrospect, I'm going to not like how her run was. I do love the fact, and I want to believe that Asuka has something to do with this. I do like that she's working with other women you wouldn't normally pair her with. Like, you know, her run with Zelina. Like, I love that. I love that Zelina, unfortunately, you know, she's gone now, but she can say she's had championship match against Asuka. Like, it didn't go anywhere, but like, just think about your career as a wrestler. You know, Lana, you know, being put with Asuka already elevates Lana now to a whole nother level. And Asuka doesn't have to do that. You know what I mean? She could be one of those stars that's just like, oh, she's not on my level or whatever. But I do like that she's bringing people on and having, you know, having those moments. How do you feel about it?
I love her. And like, I love Asuka. I even watch her YouTube channel.
It's awesome.
Like, honestly, it's helped me through quarantine and this crazy year. Like, it's just so fun to see her. Yeah. Like, I love Asuka, and I think she, like, I loved, like, two of my favorites are like has been Asuka versus Mickey and Asuka versus Selena, definitely, because Selena, other than that, it was only the only other match of Selena's that I remember is Selena and Andrade versus Becky and Seth during their storyline. Like, that was a fun match for Selena, but if she wouldn't have had Asuka, there would have been nothing there for her.
Right.
Like that, like fun, good match that showed off Selena. And I think everybody always says it, but when you face off against Asuka, you know that you need to bring in your best.
Yep.
Like, Becky and Sasha have talked about how they have even altered their entire training to add in more stamina because they know Asuka has that stamina.
I love that. I love that so much. And how do you feel about Asuka being considered? And we've talked about, I know how you feel, but how do you feel about Asuka being considered the fifth horsewoman?
I am somebody that has perpetuated that. I think, and it's funny when we talk about the booking of it, but it's just like the woman that I think help you, like, hook you back into wrestling. Now I would add the Bellison to that too, of just like they keep you up to date. But Asuka's the only woman that I can think of so far that has had stellar matches with each four horsewomen. Yeah. Even though we hate the ones with Charlotte because of the ending. We hate the ones with Charlotte, but I think it doesn't take it away from it being a good match overall.
Yeah.
And so
I agree with that. And I would definitely put Asuka as a fifth horsewoman because I think people forget because they may be over pushed, and that's a fan club for horsewomen. Let's put that on our list, Eva. Because they're over pushed, because they're usually the main focus, blah, 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 blah. People forget why they're considered the four horsewomen. Like, they are considered the four horsewomen of the women's division because they have something that the others do not. They have brought something to the table that others did not. And that's a multiple and a laundry list of things. So I think people need to, I mean, I always put respect on the four horsewomen's names, but they are pushed and they are put in these positions for a reason. Asuka is probably higher than that. If you like under like, so of course she's one of the of course she's one of the horsewomen in my opinion, because you can put her in anything. You already know it's big. She's already elevated. She's already elevating whoever she's in the ring with. You already know it's probably going to be a 4 or 5 star match no matter what. And that's it. She's one of the fifth horsewomen. That's it.
And for anybody listening, if you haven't heard, I think it was like a ride along or something that they did. And I just remember this car scene with them so much that I think I think it was prior to the Women's Royal Rumble, 24 special something. Guys, I can't remember. I'm so sorry. I hate when people do that and we're like, oh, there's this thing and I can't remember what it is. But there was something in the car with like they were having fun of like who would win. And it's funny looking back at it, but Asuka's like, I am winning and I am the best here. And like there was Sasha, Bailey, and Becky in the car, and they're like, let's throw you out the car and see if you make it to the venue. But it was just that first Women's Royal Rumble is special. I think
it really is.
Jason's right. Charlotte has silently said it. It's like it's Asuka, like the best feud for a 4 horsewomen outside of the 4 horsewomen is Asuka.
Oh, 100%. 100%. And I think each of them had some of their best matches of their career with Asuka, but those aren't necessarily Asuka's best matches of her. Like, and that says a lot about Asuka. What I do love that happened in the last year is that we were able to see some classics for her and Bailey, because I feel like Bailey was like the one horsewoman that like didn't get those classics, like those big moments with Asuka, like Charlotte beating her streak, and like Sasha just being the other best wrestler in the world having a classic match with Asuka. Like, and then you didn't really have that, and then Becky, of course, but you didn't really have that with Bailey. So I love that this year, like her and Bailey put on some classics. I was like, oh my God, I never knew I needed this so much in my life.
Well, and I think it's just like what the heck is that word? Us being able to believe that Sasha and Bailey needed to work together to take down Asuka means so much about Asuka. Like that power of Asuka. And I don't know. This question is so hard to me. Like I can't choose.
Yeah, I can't choose, but I'm gonna say the 4 horsewomen, Ember Moon. And I think maybe we haven't talked about her feud with Ember Moon enough also, but I do think that was one of my favorite Asuka feuds, 100%. And I wasn't watching it like live as it was happening, because I wasn't really always consistently watching NXT, but I went back to watch their whole thing and I loved it. And that's when I fell in love with Asuka on the mic, because she was so funny in her interviews at NXT, especially during her feud with Ember. And I love that moment during the first Royal Rumble when they had that face off. Like, I got chills thinking. I was like, oh my God.
I love that crowd for like giving that reaction that they gave to Trish and Mickey. Like the crowd was in it. Oh God. Let me think. Asuka versus Nikki Cross. I love that.
People forget about that. Can we talk about that more? People need to talk about that more. Nikki Cross and Asuka's feud in NXT was fucking awesome.
I loved it. I felt like it was monster against monster. And it's something that has never been able to have been done like on regular WWE programming. I really like that one. I love that one. But Nikki Cross was special.
It really was. It so was. And shout out to Jason for reminding me of this match. But so I guess I should have worded that. Like, I know Bailey and Asuka have mixed it up a lot, but it was nice to see heel like this Bailey versus this Asuka this year as well. And then Andre said that was the rivalry of the year.
Ooh. Andre, that's a really good question. What is rivalry of the year for the women? I think Asuka versus Bailey is definitely on top of my list.
I would say that's like top 5. I think
Io versus Asuka at Great American Bash.
Woo! Classico. Oh my God, I love that match. Krista B and I, shout out to her, we just did our best of 2020 episode. We're about to record part 2 after TLC. And we talked about how this year, like we were able to get like a lot of women's feuds, like that was just like seeing like Sasha and Bailey mixing up with like the Kabuki Warriors, like that was like a highlight of the year for me. That was one of the feuds. But if you think about it, like all the hot feuds this year for me, and I, of course, I'm biased, but like were like the women, and Asuka was in the mix from like
up until Roman Reigns. I hadn't paid attention to any of the men's stuff. I was like, nah, Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens right now to me like really got my attention.
Oh,
like, 100%. I'm like so into it.
100%. So are there any other hot takes do you guys in the comments want us to talk about when it comes to Asuka, the Empress of Tomorrow? Thank you. I'm not ending it, Eva. I just wanted to just thank everybody that is joining us to TWG Fan Club. This is a monthly show that we do where we kind of just talk about hot takes on popular polarizing figures in women's wrestling. We're gonna cover Total Divas next month, and I'm so excited for that. And I'm gonna see if we can get some other Total Divas fans to join us and talk about some of our top moments, and also the hot take on Total Divas, why real wrestling fans have such a problem with it, and how people have actually said that Total Divas ruins wrestling.
I find that so funny. I don't think I've even said this to you, P, but the other day I put on my Bella Twins shirt that you sent over my way. And I had so many people that I didn't know knew who the Bellas were, but they're like, oh yeah, like I love the Bellas. I love Total Divas. I occasionally tune into WWE when I can.
Nice.
And I was like, yay.
Oh my God, see? And of course it'll probably turn into a longer conversation about the Bella Twins, but I can't wait to talk about those hot takes. So back to Asuka, very random. Someone had tweeted like an account like what wrestlers merch do you have the most? I have more Asuka merch than anyone else, which is so interesting. Like, I didn't even realize it, but like Asuka's one of those people that I just will always love and be a fan of, like no matter what. And also WWE shop designs aren't always the best, but they always do a good job with Asuka.
Yeah.
Like this is like one of my favorites. Like she wore it one night on Raw and I was like, yep.
I need it. Oh my gosh, no. Asuka has the best gear. Like Asuka competes with Sasha and Naomi about having best gear for sure.
Oh yeah.
Somebody commented and I'm losing it. Sorry, I have my phone down here, so that's why.
Oh yeah. Wait, what'd you see? I'll put it on the screen.
The best feud was Becky. I think it was Timothy. Of something saying like the best feud was Becky. Funnily enough, the biggest Becky one. Forgot about the Becky feud. I think it was. There's been so many matches of it that if it was that like first round, I'm like, yeah, I've got it for sure. But I think there were just too many.
Yeah, I agree. And even with I hate to say Sasha and Asuka, like I feel like we've been there. Like in the future, like I don't need to see them against each other like anytime soon. Especially like with Survivor Series, it's like, okay, like that, you know, been there, done that. Cause we know they're going to put on a classic, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, like done. But Asuka's gear is awesome. I loved her gear, particularly when she was with the Kabuki Warriors, because she started doing more black and gold and reds. And I just loved it. Her and Kyrie's gear was awesome. And I didn't appreciate it at first because I think like all the what I seen as like just mix matching. I was like, I didn't appreciate it. But like now it's like there's so much detail that goes into it. Same with Natalia's gear. That's like that I like live. Natalia's gear live. Absolutely beautiful. You can tell it's like expensive. You know, Natty doesn't do anything like.
I always remember the ride along that it was Natty with Beth Phoenix, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna be working for free because our WrestleMania gear is so expensive."
And it looks it too, and it's awesome.
I always forget about Natty's gear because it's always black and pink. So I'm like, yeah.
Right. And then Asuka also, she does the jackets.
The one that you had on your shirt, I was like, oh
man, they are always good. Like we talk about Charlotte's robes and stuff like that, but like we need to talk about Asuka's gear more.
I had really good robes. Yeah, I would call them robes.
Yeah.
Sure. Ooh, so comment, P. I don't know if you can pull it up, but it was. I haven't seen Break It Down with Asuka yet, guys.
I have not either, and I think I might watch that today.
Ooh. Asuka said the great, I think it was Moolah, was the reason she became a wrestler. I love that.
Yeah, I do too. I really do. And I just think about how many younger Japanese wrestlers are now looking to Asuka in that way. Like Asuka's the reason why, I wanted to be a wrestler. I love this comment, Eva.
I've only been back into watching wrestling since October 2019 and immediately took to Asuka and the Kabuki Warriors. I have
it's like, how could you not?
I love that.
Yeah, it's like, how could you not love them? And shout out, hi Matthew, thanks for joining us.
Thank you. I think that's the fun part when I meet newer wrestling fans, like when I first got to know Jeree from Face Beat Heels High, and that she said that Becky was the one, but now to hear, Matthew, from you that Asuka's the one, I always love to hear, like when somebody hasn't, well, I think Jeree has grown up with wrestling, but when somebody comes back to wrestling or finds it for the first time who you love, I always love to hear that because you don't have like the backstory that we do.
Yeah. Oh my God. Same. I love that. I love that. And this is also something we'll love to talk about. And I'm not sure who that is on Facebook.
I love when Asuka won the Raw Women's Championship, the Raw after Money in the Bank. That moment will always be so special to me. That is very true. That moment makes me happy. Like
it really does.
Before Becky announced the why, just to see like the pure joy on Asuka's face of like yes, and jumping around the ring was a special moment. Thank you.
It was. It really was. And that just reminds me actually of another hot take that I saw on Twitter that I felt was a little ridiculous. People were saying that Asuka didn't really win the title because it was given to her. I did not agree with that because the briefcase was the prize and Asuka did climb up and get the briefcase. What we did not know is what was in the briefcase. It wasn't a contract. It was the Raw Women's title because Becky had to leave to have a baby. So I want to just like clarify that, like, and not like, I hate that, like another, like we talked about Asuka moments being tainted with other things. Like, I mean, as much as we love Becky, like, how do you feel about this title win? It's kind of all about Becky.
Here's the thing. I didn't think it was all about Becky in the moment. I think that WWE made it all about Becky by taking Asuka out of the clips and only mentioning the pregnancy announcement too from it. And I think a lot of people really spoke up about this when CM Punk went on a show that I used to love to watch, WWE Backstage, and said they should have done like a match. And even though Becky was pregnant, lay down, like have Becky lay down and win it from her.
Yeah.
I don't agree because I think I see even the backlash now once Becky has had her baby of people going back and realizing that she was pregnant against Shayna and people are now judging Shayna because of some of the matches that they did when it was Becky versus Shayna at WrestleMania. I think they did the best they could, and I think WWE just screwed it up for Asuka by only mentioning the Becky baby announcement for so long afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I think that's just WWE wanting to capitalize on Becky as much as possible because she is, a top star. And timing. It was like one of those things where, oh shit, our top star is pregnant and she's about to leave. Like, how can we make this happen? Now, they could have had anyone else besides Asuka be the one Becky gave that, but it was a reason for it to be Asuka because of her and Becky's past history, because Asuka's championship material, and I'm one of those people, I don't care how much I love you. Not everyone can be champion.
No.
I can be a huge fan. I can stand. Not everyone can be champion, but Asuka's one of those people where it's like, oh yeah, Becky's gone. Asuka. That works.
And I think she has done such a good job. Like I have said it once, but I'll say it again during COVID, like keeping us entertained. Like for a long time on the Raw side of things, before Sasha and Bayley became this next level of Sasha and Bayley this summer, it was Asuka and Selena Vega putting in the work during COVID.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think Asuka is definitely one of the MVPs of the pandemic. Oh no, what were they calling it? The
Pandemic.
Performance Center era.
Mhm.
I think Zelina, Asuka, the Golden Role Models were definitely, and Asuka were definitely like the MVPs. Like they made me want to continue tuning in. It sucked Kyrie had to leave, but I love everything that the Kabuki Warriors did. And it's one of those things where Kyrie can come back at any time and go right back into everything like she never left. So like I'm kind of getting over it, but I still like, and I watch at our watch parties, we watched a lot of the old stuff with Kyrie and we're like, oh my God.
Yeah,
She's
if you
awesome.
haven't come to a TWG watch party, it's so much fun.
They really, really are. So I think that's a good place to wrap up. Thank you everyone who joined Eva and I for that. Eva is a regular contributor for Those Wrestling Girls. If you're not a member of our Patreon, I suggest you join. You can catch me and Eva talking about a lot more other things, as well as a lot of exclusive content from Krista B. We have a lot of fun stuff, and then the watch parties. So every month we get together and we watch a series of women's wrestling matches or a documentary, whatever we feel, and we just talk about it, and it's really fun. So definitely check those out. Definitely, what else is going on? Yeah. Oh, Thirsty Thursdays. So we have a monthly party. And Timothy, we do hope that you join us for a watch party. That would be amazing. But Thirsty Thursdays once a month, we get together with the ladies of the Face Beat Heels High podcast and we drink and we just talk about all sorts of things. So don't miss out on those parties. Eva always comes. It's like the one day a month that we like lush out.
I have only before this, let me feed you this. I have had a hangover the day after every single time. I've had this last one. I was going to break this food. I did not.
Oh man. Well, next one is the week of my birthday. So unfortunately, that's not going to be the one where you're not going to have a hangover. So we'll plan for February.
Like one of these days, it'll be better.
Oh, thank you again for joining me. Next month is all about Total Divas, all the hot takes. Did it ruin wrestling? What did it do for women's wrestling? Are the Bella Twins for the growth and progression of women's wrestling, or are they against it? We'll go into all of that. And this was TWG Fan Club. Thanks for joining us.